Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 116. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host. He needs to come back to Apex Legends, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
How are you doing, man?
I am trying to live life to the fullest right now.
Same, dude. So I'm a homeowner, and I've talked about my trials and tribulations with that. And my latest trial has been I've got these birds kind of living in my dryer vent, and they're right below me right now, and I can fucking hear them, like their little pitter patter moving around, and they're annoying as fuck. And I've been trying to get them out of there for like 4 or 5 days now, and nothing I'm doing is succeeding. And it's really fucking frustrating because they're annoying, and like I don't want them in the vent, for one, because it's dangerous, and two, because I don't want them to build a fucking nest in there. They're not building a nest yet. But dude, I went out there the other day, yesterday, and looked at the vent real quick just to see if they would come out of it, and they did. There was two of them, two fucking grown ass adult birds living in my dryer vent, dude. This isn't a big dryer vent either, by the way. I mean, you know what a dryer vent looks like. Everybody knows what a dryer vent looks like. It's not a big thing. Like, it's about the size of maybe like a pancake, in terms of its, circumference. So they're living in there, and they seem to be building a nest. But what I don't know is, like, are they fucking trying to get it on in my dryer vent? Like, like, what the fuck, dude? Like, why did you pick this spot, Like, there's plenty of nice trees and bushes all over the place for you guys to pick, and you decide to go in a dryer vent. My neighbors are dealing with the same thing too. Like, our vents are like, where our houses, they're on the same side of the house, or they're on the sides of the house facing each other. And like they're dealing with the same shit. And it's like, I'm probably gonna have to go buy like a new cover for the vent that has like spikes on it or some shit, to make them not go into it anymore. And
Yeah.
so, it's the fun of being a homeowner, Montrell. The random fucking bullshit that you have to deal with sometimes is, animals just trying to make a nest in your house. And
Yeah, so like I guess because there's a for the dryer vent there's a exposed hole there, so they can
yes.
just get in there.
Yep.
But didn't you have issues with the bird like a couple of weeks ago?
No, not birds. We had cricket wasp nests under our house, and they were digging up and coming into our house through our bathroom and dryer vents. So that was another thing we were dealing with, which right now we're good on that front. But it's not the summer yet fully, so they're not really active in the winter months, really. So we'll see about that.
Okay.
But all these fucking animals just like coming into my vents. Like we put up, the thing is, we put up netting in front of one of the vents, so the bird can't get in, but we can't put that up on the dryer vent because the point of the dryer vent is to get the lint out of your dryer, that builds up. So it's super irritating because of that. Like, we can't cover it with anything, so we need to find a different solution. Hey, if anybody has ideas, please send them to us. I'm all ears, man. Because I'm not this part of the homeowner experience, not my forte. So yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's what you have to look forward to someday, is dealing with random crap like that. We did have another like tornado storm too, and my fence held up, so I'm happy about that. Last week, so it's been a little bit of a trying time with that stuff. I get, it's funny, I can tell I'm like an old adult at this point when I'm like literally driving home and I see storm clouds and I hear tornado sirens going off, and the first thought in my head is not that, oh God, I hope I don't die. It's, oh God, I hope my fence doesn't get damaged. That's how you know you've turned into an adult. You care about your house more than your own life. So yeah, that's where I'm at, man. It's my fence is precious to me. I don't want it to just get destroyed. So but yeah, otherwise life's been good. Finally, I'm not going to talk specifics, but there's, been some change recently in my life that has finally happened. And I can actually, I think, finally like sit down and actually focus on video games again. Cause I've been playing games, but it's really been like, how we were talking about it last week. I was really looking for like autopilot games. I'm like not looking for stuff that's like really engaging necessarily. I'm just looking for something I can play to kind of unwind. I'm kind of coming out of that now, I think. So I'm going to be kind of getting back into the swing of things. I bought Near yesterday. It's on the way. It should be here tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to play that yet, but, so things are happening. We got Mass Effect next Friday, a week from Friday. That's exciting. I'm definitely getting that day one. So, we got some games coming, Montrell. We got Resident Evil tomorrow too, right? I think.
Yep. And I
So,
am not going to be able to get it right now because I'm
oh
just doing
man,
a
I'm
lot of
sorry.
stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, you'll get it eventually, and he'll have thoughts on it on this podcast. So, um, all right. Enough bullshit. Is there anything you want to talk about? I know I just kind of dominated like 6 minutes there about birds in my vent and shit, but is there anything you want to talk about?
Nah, not really. I mean, yeah, just this whole getting my place together shit is just really bugging me down. But I don't want to talk about that. Let's just move
Yeah,
on.
you're almost there, man. You're almost there too. So that's the good part.
Yeah.
So yeah. But all right. This isn't a slice of life podcast. We're not like a slice of life anime, where we're going to school and looking at all the cute girls. No, 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 no. This is a very serious video game podcast that we post weekly where we talk about video game news, uh, video games, and other topics pertaining to video games. God damn, what is wrong with me? We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Also, we got more questions this week. Dat dude coming through again. Really appreciate that. So please be like him and send us your questions on whatever topic, contemporary games. If you want to ask us about old games, things outside of gaming too. We'll certainly answer questions about things outside of gaming as well, depending on what it is. There are limits, but send those to the players take 01 at gmail.com or at the players take on Twitter, and we will answer those on the show like we're going to do today. So, Montrell, let's get into it and talk about what we've been playing. Would you like to go first this week, or should I?
You can go first.
Okay. I have a lot of the same shit on my list. Apex Legends. I will bring this up briefly. Is the new season started on Tuesday? Arenas is live. This is a new game mode that is a 3v3 team deathmatch mode, basically. Not team deathmatch is kind of a bad way to look at it because it's not about kills; it's about killing the entire enemy team and living. So it's like one engagement, but you have to win best of three. So first to three wins rather. So basically best of five. First to three wins the game, wins the match, and it's sort of like Counter-Strike, and you have to like buy your equipment pre-match. It is
Okay.
cool. You do have to buy some. You do have to buy your character abilities too. They're not inherently on your character, so you do have to spend some of the coin on that too, which is interesting. And you get more money, I guess, quote unquote. It's actually like crafting materials, but you get more whatever to buy stuff per match, like per game that you go in a round or whatever. And it's cool. I don't think this mode right now is enough on its own to like sustain an audience personally. I'm kind of looking at it more as like a warm up for the BR. It's definitely something we'll play for like 30 or 45 minutes before we start playing the BR, the battle royale part of the game. But as a warm up, it serves very well because it's a 1v1 team fight basically.
Okay.
And that it's literally pure combat. It's going to be the best way in the game for you to consistently practice fighting other players, whereas the
Okay.
BR is not that consistent. And obviously, it's a lot more long-winded in that regard too. So that's cool. We got a new character, Valkyrie. She seems fucking OP as shit. Her tactical is ridiculous. I don't think, knowing Respawn, they're not going to nerf it for 2 seasons like they did with Horizon. So, we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, loving Apex as usual. Neo 2, continue to get through that. We actually finally got to New Game Plus this week, and there's we're almost disappointed with how easy it is so far, but we kind of clearly have over leveled for the new game plus. So there's multiple difficulties after the main game, and we're in the first of those new difficulties.
Okay.
So we're kind of plowing our way through that right now to get to the next one, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. Like I said, I'm still planning to get super deep with this game. I really want to go all the way to the end. I'm actually getting very close to the platinum trophy now. I'm not very far away from it. I only have like 5 or 6 trophies left that I really need to like work for. And then I'll have that too. So that's fun. Monster Hunter Rise is the next one. Man, Montrell, I think I might be done with this game for now.
Really?
I think I've hit my limit. Yeah, because Apex, the new season came out, and I think we're gonna probably shift back to that. I don't know if the boys are gonna want to play Rise. They probably will, but um, I don't know. I'm not sure there's much reason to play anymore. You know, I beat the game. I beat all the content there. I have my dual blades build is not fully completed, but does it really matter? I can murder most monsters with no effort at this point. You know, like it's like who cares? Like do I need to make my character better to murder them more effortlessly? Like what's the point? There's nothing challenging in the game right now, really. So even with the Elder Dragons they added, it's just like, I don't know. Like we were fighting a what the fuck were we fighting the other day? We were fighting like some high level monsters, like some of the 7-star monsters. And dude, when I tell you, I was not even paying attention to what I was doing, and I literally wasn't getting hit. I'm not even fucking kidding with you. Like I there were multiple hunts in a row where we're talking about something completely unrelated to Monster Hunter, and I'm barely paying attention, and I use like one potion. And I'm not trying to honk and say like, oh, I'm so good at Monster Hunter, but dude, it's like at a certain point you play the game enough, and it's like you just like you don't even think about it, So I'm kind of at that point with it, and I don't know if I'm having a lot of fun anymore. So that might be the moment to dip, unfortunately. So we'll see. I might play this weekend a little, but also still playing Final Fantasy Tactics. Not much to say there. I will say one thing. I forgot how much grinding is in this game, and that is not a bad thing. I do miss grinding in video games because games don't really make you grind for things much anymore. So, even Monster Hunter, the grindiest game in existence, doesn't really make you grind anymore for the most part. So yeah, still enjoying that. And then my Xbox. So I set it up over the weekend. And what do I do, Montrell? I got this fancy new next gen console. I signed up for Game Pass. I looked through the catalog. I downloaded 6 games. Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, Fable 1 and 2, Outriders, and then Ori 1 and 2. Ori, the platformer Ori. The Xbox exclusives. And what do I decide to play? The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, baby. A 25-year-old game at this point, almost. I think it came out in 1997, right? Originally.
Damn, that game's 25 years old. That's crazy.
I think so. That was it. I think it was on PC in 1997, and it came to consoles in the early 2000s. But yeah, so I'm playing that on Xbox, and I started a character, and I've only played like 2 or 3 hours. I'm not very far. I barely done really any combat in it. Only a few like minor fights, a couple where I actually got like one shot by like a mage or something. But man, did you ever play Morrowind?
Yeah, I played it.
Okay, so how do you feel about it in the pantheon of Elder Scrolls games?
So Morrowind, as far as like the story and everything like that, I feel like it's
Yeah.
one of the superior
Okay.
Elder Scroll games.
Yeah.
For me personally, I prefer Oblivion's combat.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I prefer Oblivion's combat
Yeah.
over Morrowind's and Skyrim's. I don't know what it is about Oblivion's combat that's like satisfying, but it's really satisfying for me.
Okay. Yeah, so far this game, like from a gameplay standpoint, probably doesn't really hold up. It doesn't like it plays really weird, movement's weird, the character moves like super fucking slow at first. Combat's really just like you and an enemy swinging their weapons at each other until somebody kills the other one. It's not like anything. You can't like dodge. There's not like I think you can block, like I think shields are a thing, but it is a little basic in that regard. But that doesn't mean it's not fun. I have been really enjoying running around this game, and the world seems huge. For a game that came out in 1997, this game seems like it was way ahead of its time in that regard. The ambition here, because I mean, I played video games in 1997. Its contemporaries were like Fallout, the CRPG Fallout, you know, and like Warcraft 2 and like Diablo 1, you know, like this game kind of blows those away in terms of scope to me, even though those are great games. This game was very ambitious. This is doing something that didn't become normalized in video games until 20 years later, you know. I do have to give old Bethesda, kudos for this because this is a good game. It is a nerdy ass RPG. It's got those like old school D&D stats. You have to like use your abilities to level them, which I think is still a thing in like Skyrim, but it's like not like this. It's
Yeah.
it's a old school game, and I don't know why, but it's hitting a spot for me right now, and I really actually think I'm going to play this. I don't know how far I'm going to get, how thorough I'm going to be, but I don't know. It's working for me. The world's cool too. I've never really played an Elder Scrolls game besides a few hours of Skyrim, and this
Yeah.
game just I think it presents a lot better than the early part of Skyrim to me. It's a lot more interesting at first because the game like tells you like you know you talk to NPCs and stuff and they like tell you, okay, you need to go to this town and you can take the Silt Strider to get there, but you could also walk if you want. So there's multiple ways to get around, but you need money for the Silt Strider, and like you can't just steal things in this game the way you can in like The Witcher or something. Like you can't go into people's homes and just steal all their shit. That will get you arrested or killed very quickly, because I learned that the hard way the other day. And I think that's actually really cool though. That's like a really immersive thing, because I went into a bar or whatever and like went into their wine closet and like stole all the wine because it was really valuable. You know, it was worth a lot of gold. And then I went to the barkeep and tried to sell it to him, and he immediately started beating me up, like trying to attack me and shit, because he knew it was his. And it's like, that's fucking cool. And that's a game in like 1997 doing this, you know. So I'm not a huge Bethesda fan, but I think I know old Bethesda was a lot more in my I think more in my wheelhouse. You know, they were a lot more of an RPG developer than they are now. And so it is a shame that they've kind of fallen away from this. Similar to BioWare, they kind of left their roots behind a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've never played some of these games, so there's kind of a trove of potential gems around for me to play. So I'm gonna play this, and we'll see. I know it's retro, but I'm on a real retro kick right now. I'm playing FFT. I'm playing fucking Elder Scrolls. You know, I want to play. I bought the Castlevania pack on PlayStation the other day, and I think I want to play Symphony of the Night because I've never played that game. What was that? What's that guy's name? Sunny Legend or Sunny Legend? I don't know how to pronounce his Twitter handle, but he posted like a video of him in Symphony of the Night fighting a boss, and it was so fucking cool, dude. And I'm just like, why haven't I played this game? So I'm gonna do that.
That's weird, and that's why when I asked you about it, we were talking about Castlevania like the other day, or the other episode. It looks like a game that you would love to play, and that's why I thought you played it. I'm like, you didn't play Castlevania?
I'm an idiot. Montrell. I know it looks like a Mega Man game almost. Like, I'm like, what the fuck? He's doing these like complicated air dodges and shit, and like dude, it was like blowing my mind. I'm like, why haven't I played fucking Symphony of the Night? Everybody tells me to play this game, everybody, and I just never listen. So I bought it. I have it on PlayStation, and I know it's not a long game, so I'm probably just going to do it soon at some point in the near future.
I think it is an RPG technically too, so
yes,
you may like it from that perspective as well.
It is. And okay, Montrell, I'm done. I've been talking for like I feel like 20 minutes straight. You know, go ahead. What have you been playing, dude?
Let's see. Oh yeah, so I've been playing Metal Gear 5. I'm playing more of that game. Not too much to say besides I like how the game is structured, because I can come in and just do missions and then leave. Like, it's really structured for like an adult.
Good, man. He knew his audience.
Yeah, and It's not an adventure. It's not an adventure game. It's like a mission based game, but open world, and you get 3 lands. I'm still in the first landmass. I'm still trying to just build my army and get stuff up and everything of that nature.
Hmm.
So I mean, I'm really enjoying the game. I just like the creativity that you can do from a player's perspective on things and everything of that nature. How
Hmm.
you can manipulate the AI and everything like that.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't really been playing Monster Hunter Rise too much.
You played
Um,
once with us or twice,
Yep,
I
I
think.
played once or twice. The thing is, I think I need to play it by myself a little bit.
Yeah.
The only reason I need to get a new controller, so that's the another reason I've kind of been avoiding the game. Not because my controller is broke or anything, but because
Hmm.
the way the GameCube controller is set up, it's not set up like the traditional uh
Hmm.
Joy-Con controllers. So like
Hmm.
when you're transitioning from like World over to like the traditional Joy-Con controllers, all the buttons are still mapped the same way. Whereas with
Yep.
the GameCube, you have to like kind of trick your brain to like it's kind of mapped different because the button placements are a little bit different. The
Well, the
A
button
and the
placements aren't like perfectly symmetrical on the
exactly.
GameCube. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like the A button is the huge button, whereas like the B
Hmm.
button is it's not. So it's
Yeah.
just really weird. So I'm actually gonna buy a pro controller probably within the next couple of weeks, and then
Okay.
start getting back into Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just been playing League of Legends with a couple of my friends, and that's pretty much it. We haven't been doing anything but like ARAM, which is all random, all mid. It's just actually a
Okay.
really fun mode to play. So
Yeah.
we've been playing that a lot, and that's pretty much it where I'm at.
All right. Well, I guess I have to talk again. I'm sorry, everybody. All right, let's get into the news then, Montrell. We got some pretty nice news stories this week. So the Epic versus Apple case has been ongoing, and we're not going to be like covering that super in depth right now. That'll be more something we talk about when there's actually a verdict on it. But there are things coming out of that case though that are very interesting, and one of those was a document that leaked from January where Microsoft was planning to reduce their cut on the Microsoft Xbox Store to 88.12. So they would get 12% of a game sale, and the developer would get 88%, which is the same as the Epic Game Store. And this, interestingly, leaked out a week after Microsoft um, made that exact change on the PC version of the Microsoft Store. So now developers on the PC store get the 88% cut, and Microsoft's only getting 12. And there's no stipulations on that. It looks like it appears right now. The plan here, though, with the Xbox One was that they were going to do this on the Xbox Store, but anybody who released games on the platform would give Microsoft exclusive streaming rights to their game for xCloud. So that was kind of the caveat, I guess. But Microsoft, this was reported originally by The Verge. Microsoft actually came out and released comment that they are not planning on doing this right now, which seems to have nipped this in the bud at the moment. But Montrell, how does this strike you? Because personally, I'm not convinced that they're not going to do this just because they said they're not. But I guess take me through your thoughts on everything I just said, how this kind of relates to Sony, and how big of an impact this might have in the console space.
Yeah, this actually may have a huge impact because
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Steam and Epic was going at it, and then Epic was like, "Hey, we're doing." They think they did 80-20, right? Or they did the 80
It was
88-12,
88-12. It was 88-12.
and
And
everyone
Steam
started.
has the 70-30.
Okay, and everyone went over to Epic.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is going to have the same effect. Honestly, I don't think it's going to be as big as Epic, but that is a very good deal, especially if you're an indie or like a second party, second tier midware developer that's just trying to get some money or not trying to get money, but you got to make your dollars stretch. That 88-12 will be very enticing.
Yeah.
Where we don't know what Sony's is right now.
No, we do. It's seven. It's so the way it is right now, and this is why what Epic was doing a few years ago was such a big deal because every digital storefront for video games right now is 70-30. Steam, the Nintendo eShop, Microsoft Xbox Store and the PlayStation Store. They're all 70-30 cuts. So the publisher, the platform holder gets 30%, the developer gets 70. That's how it is now. So
Okay. Well, in that case, then I mean, I still don't see a. If I was a developer, the only reason I would be going to Sony is because of the large install base and because of probably the relationships you can
yep.
garner right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yep.
But if you're like talking about pure money perspective, I would go over to Microsoft.
Right.
Um, I didn't think this whole Epic Game Store thing would fucking reveal a lot of shit, as much shit as it did.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, that's actually crazy that we're getting all this information out just from that. So I'm assuming other companies aren't really too happy about this battle that's going on in court right now.
Well, I'm sure Microsoft's not. Sony, we're going to talk about them later, had some stuff leaked about them that wasn't very flattering. Even Epic, the exclusive deals they signed with a bunch of games came out and how much they paid, and like they were paying like chump change, dude. It was like a 1.4 million for some of these games, which is like fucking nothing, dude. For a video game, even an indie game, that's, it's a decent amount, I guess, but it depends on the game. But like, games that have sold well were not paying a lot for to get exclusively on the Epic Games Store, which I found surprising. But for this deal though, or for this potential change, the ramifications of this would be massive, because all of a sudden, if all things are equal, why would you make your game on PlayStation? If Microsoft comes and is like, they sign an exclusive deal with you, so they'll pay you money to exclusively put your game on their platform, and then you get an 88% cut of the sale of any sale of the game. I mean, the incentives to work with Sony aren't really that high anymore. The only advantage Sony would have is that they supposedly have a larger install base, which I believe is still the case and could be the case for this entire generation. But that gap might not be as big as it was last gen. And if that's the case, then the numbers may work out in such a way that, you can make up the difference of the volume of game sales you might have made on PlayStation with that 18% that you're getting in addition to what you used to be able to get. So this is I don't know. It's bold. The fact that they're not doing it right now does make sense, because I mean, this is something that I think it would send waves through the industry, frankly. Because the PC space is one thing, where Epic was doing that in the PC space. Those were smaller waves. It was a big deal. We talked about it a lot at the early part of this podcast, but it wasn't as big because the PC market is not a primary development platform for the large majority of developers. The console space is where the money is being made in the video game industry right now. That's where developers make their games first. That's their primary development platform, is generally PlayStation. It has been the last generation, and I think so far for this one. But even given that, porting your games to Xbox is kind of a guarantee if you're a third party developer or publisher. So it's this kind of undercut would be such. I mean, it would just continue a trend of Microsoft and Xbox kind of, hitting Sony with haymakers, dude. Like, because Sony wouldn't be able to do this. I legitimately don't think they could match this in any real way. I think they could reduce their cut. I don't think it could be this steep, though. I don't think they could go down to 12%.
What I'm thinking about though is it's not
Mm-hmm.
about. I mean, that's really good on paper, right? Like
Yeah.
everything you said about Microsoft.
Yeah.
I think the reason why people would go to Sony still, even if it is a 70-30 cut,
Mm-hmm.
is because, like I said, the install base, and I don't want to like put Microsoft gamers
In a
like
box.
in a box. Yeah, right. I don't want to put them in a box, but
In an Xbox.
and oh my god, and then I fucking hate
I'm sorry.
you.
I'm sorry.
But I mean, I used to be primarily an Xbox gamer until like I
Yeah.
got a PS4 and everything like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's weird because Xbox gamers tend to not go outside their realms of like video games, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't like to put them in that box, but statistically speaking, it's true. Like they don't deviate from like either their sports games or shooters,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
those are like the main two games that they go for.
Mhm.
And if you try to put anything else in the mix, it's it's rare. Whereas with like PlayStation gamers, yes, they are the same as far as like the pie chart, right? It'll be like maybe 33% fucking sports games, 33% fucking shooters, but then that extra 34% there, it's like it's cut up
Mhm.
into like, single player games, single player action adventure games and RPGs and all this other stuff like that, others. And that 34% of others is very large and enticing to people who want to make games outside of the sports or shooter category.
Mhm.
So I think Sony will still have the leg up, even if this 8812 thing goes through for consoles as well.
Mhm.
Sony still has the leg up because people want that 34% of like gamers that are playing other games besides the shooters and the sports games, if that makes
Mhm.
any sense. So
No, that does. It does.
so I still think Microsoft, this is the step in the right direction, but I still think this is not going to even put a dent in what Sony's doing right now as far as
Mhm.
like garnering first parties and garnering like indies that come towards them, because it's still very enticing. And I feel like the Switch is still there with Sony because they have the same leg up, in my opinion. Well, actually their
Yeah.
pie chart is way different. Their pie chart is, I would say, 80% others and then maybe like 10% sports and 10% shooters. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the Switch is like really up there as far as indies and in middleware goes, as far as like getting diverse gamers. But like they would Xbox still has a lot to go, and they're still trying to diversify their gamers. And they're trying to make their gamers, the ones that are already existing on their network, more
Yeah.
diverse as well, which I respect.
Mhm. Yeah, so I agree with basically everything you said. I think you're right. Um, given that I framed it as such that this would be a great thing for Xbox. At the same time, I think there's one thing in here that I did mention that is a huge negative, is that the streaming rights, giving up the streaming rights to your game by putting it on Xbox, that is I feel like that would be a deal breaker for a lot of devs, because that would preclude them from putting it on their own streaming service or GeForce Now or even PlayStation Now, or whatever Amazon's doing. What the hell was it called, Luna or some shit?
Yeah.
Any of those platforms. And I don't know if that would appeal to devs. That feels like you might be signing your death warrant in the future, because streaming is not going to be nothing forever. Like that will be a segment of gaming at some point. Um, I think the other thing, and I think there's two reasons that Microsoft's not doing this. And the first is that, I mean, they're inherently going to make less money doing this, which is not necessarily the goal. And the second is that, what the hell is going to stop any of these developers from making their game on PlayStation first, as they do now, and then just porting it to Xbox anyways, and then just taking whatever extra sales you get from that and getting that new cut? Like, it's not like it's going to stop them from making games on PlayStation. They're not just going to abandon Sony's platform. Like, there's a very lucrative base of players on that platform. So why wouldn't you release your game there?
Yeah.
So I think ultimately that would probably be why they wouldn't do this, because there's no real reason to, like I don't think this is, like, as much as it sounds on paper like a haymaker or would be a haymaker, I just don't think it would have the pull necessary to, like Microsoft would have to use this and try to weaponize it almost and be like, look, we've got this great cut on our store and we will pay you $20 million. Put your game on our store exclusively. It's an Xbox exclusive. Like, that's how they'd have to use it, honestly. Like, I think that's the only way they could really make a dent, because if they didn't do that and they just tried to use this passively and just hoped that devs would come to them and not go to PlayStation, like, that's not going to work. Like, PlayStation's too big of a platform to just abandon like that. So I think you're right, ultimately. I think while this is a good idea, and would help level the playing field with Xbox, because I think it would make it. I think it would help them in one way, where it would help bring games that normally wouldn't come to Xbox. It would become a thing of like, well, what the hell? Why not? We're gonna get so much money anyways for every game sale. Like, why wouldn't we just bring it to Xbox as well as PlayStation? Some of those like Japanese games that don't often come to Xbox.
Yeah.
So that makes sense to me, but I don't know if that's enough for Microsoft though to really make it worth it. So I could see this going either way. I could see them doing it, and I could also see them not doing it. I think there's an argument for both sides of this, but I think the thing is once you do make this jump, you can't really go back. So they got to be very careful with that, which is probably why they didn't do it yet, if they're still thinking about it. So, okay. Any other thoughts on that, Montrell?
No, sir.
Okay, let's move on. Our next story is an update on Tencent. So a few months ago, remember that Tencent was under fire from the U.S. government, and they wanted to get Chinese money out of American companies, and they were trying to get Tencent to divest their interests in the United States. And Tencent, this is actually from Yahoo Finance and Reuters, that they're reporting that Tencent is now negotiating with the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States in order to retain their holdings in the U.S. of Riot Games and Epic Games primarily. Because they fully own Riot and they have a 40% stake in Epic Games. And those are extremely profitable ventures for them as owners of those two companies. And they are trying to basically, the American government wants them to divest because they are afraid that this is them owning these companies poses a national security risk to the United States. Which does make sense. These companies have huge amounts of player data, like U.S. citizen data in their systems related to the games that they run. League of Legends and Fortnite specifically, and then even with the Epic Games Store with Epic. So it does make sense from that perspective that the government would consider this a national security risk. So basically, they're in discussions with this committee, and Tencent is basically having to prove that they have no real access to that data with either of these companies. Epic and Riot have both come out and said that they are totally autonomous from Tencent. Tencent does not tell them what to do. They also do not share data with Tencent. Of course, they're going to say that because you can't say the opposite. But Montrell, I find this fascinating that this is happening. How does this strike you?
About damn time somebody's
Mm-hmm.
digging into Tencent.
Mm-hmm.
Their tentacles are like everywhere as
We've
far as
been banging
gaming.
on this drum for
Yeah,
years.
like
Yeah.
I'm glad someone at the top is like noticing, like, hey, they're
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. I mean, I think this is a security risk, but not only a security risk, but like as far as like video games wise, this is very bad because not
Yeah.
only do they have Riot, they got Blizzard, they have a partnership, some kind of partnership with like
They do.
Activision.
They do have some stake in Activision Blizzard. Yep.
Yep. Also like Bungie, for instance, they're doing some kind of hidden game with them.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
it's
They
just a
gave them
lot
like
of
a $500 million investment, I think. Right.
yeah, it's a lot of stuff that they're doing. It's a whole laundry list of stuff that I didn't even name that they're doing, that companies they're involved with. Not to mention
Yep.
like cellular phone, like cell phone games, smartphone games, and everything.
Yep.
So it's crazy how much data they can use. Like, and I really feel like, not to be like, I don't know, paranoid or racist or anything, but the Chinese government can use them to their advantage and like get a foothold on
Yep.
like people's data and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I understand the concern, because China is becoming the next superpower, and or they are here now, in my opinion. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess America or the U.S. government is trying to get a foothold on that, or because this can lead to like bigger ramifications, if that makes any sense. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if there was an invasion, right, a digital invasion, they are on the shoreline. Like, they already have like a little outpost on the shoreline with Tencent,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's easy for them to invade.
Mm-hmm.
Not to be all paranoid or anything, but like that's just the
I mean,
analogy.
you're
And
not
I'm
wrong though. The next major war that happens is going to be cyber focused, probably.
yeah,
It's not going to necessarily be boots on the ground, invading somebody. at least at first, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be cyber, like you said. Like that Metal Gear shit is real, y'all. That shit that shit can really
Yeah,
happen.
man. Kojima knew his shit, dude.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Hmm.
So I feel like this is actually a really good. I usually is really very critical of the government, but this is a really good move by them. Just really badgering Tencent and maybe
Hmm.
even changing some things up the way they have to operate. Maybe they have to get their tentacles out of stuff, or they have to
Hmm.
like disclose a lot of information to the public before letting things go through and everything of that
Yeah.
nature, because they're almost close to a monopoly. Like that's how good they are with what they're doing, and
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
getting scary.
Yeah, I mean they've long been a shadow investor in the video game space for probably at least 10 years now. And
Yeah,
I don't think they've gotten mainstream buzz or press very much very often, and obviously they've been noticed much more recently. But this is, I mean, to be honest, this story, I don't know if it's even really being reported on that much, to be frank with you. Because I had to go to Yahoo to see this, like Yahoo Finance and Reuters, like, so, and that seems stupid to me at this point because this is huge. This is like a real shit. The like I don't think the American government's getting in here because they're like, oh, we don't want Chinese money in video games. That's not what it's about, dude. Like they legitimately do think this is a possible risk to our citizens.
yeah,
And that is an interesting thing because like Montrell said, like the Chinese government has the power to leverage any company they want within China. They could go to anybody and be like, look, you need to give us all your fucking data, because why? Because we said so. Like that's
yep,
that they have that kind of control. So um, the article does mention that part of the negotiation and something that's common in situations like this is potentially having a third party come in and manage and audit all this stuff periodically to make sure that it is on the up and up, that they actually don't have access to player data or US citizen data. So I'm not sure they're going to be able to make this happen, but um, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it either way. I don't really like the idea of them being forced to give up their investments, but at the same time, I don't really like that they've invested so much in American video game companies.
yeah. I look at it like this. As far as the American society and how we view video games and things of that nature,
Mhm.
even the UK, I feel like is like that. I feel like a lot of the Western companies are still on
Mm. Mhm.
this. I hate using this word now; it's so cringy, but like this boomer mentality where they feel like video games aren't important. A
Mhm.
lot of society, a lot of our Western culture still thinks video games do not make money. There's a lot of people out there still think video games are for basement dwellers and mouth breathers and all this stuff like that. Whereas there are like prominent people playing video games. There are like politicians playing video games on the
Mhm.
low. So I feel like for China for Tencent or China or whatever, to kind of invade through video games is actually very smart because no one's going to see it coming. Other countries may see it, like if they're trying to do this with Japan. Japan be like, no, what the fuck are you all doing? Like we see what you guys are doing, but like
Mhm.
we don't see it until now. Like it's 2021 and they've been doing this since 2011. So it's
Yeah.
like, uh,
Yeah, man.
that's a 10-year gap. That's a very weak part of our economy that's actually super large. A lot of people invest in it. It's not
Dude,
just
it's
video
bigger
game.
than it's bigger than movies and television right now. Video games makes
Yeah,
more money than those mediums.
exactly. And people think I'm talking about just like the Xboxes and the PlayStations and the Switches. No, I'm
Mhm.
talking about on your smartphone.
Yep.
Everybody and their mama plays smartphone games. Like your
Yep.
mother plays a smartphone game, Candy Crush, Candy Saga, whatever the fuck. Like people play these games, and a lot of these
Yep.
games are owned by these Chinese companies, man. And they
They're
need your
made by them
they're
too.
made by them, and a lot of them are scanning your phone for information. Like this is facts. Even American companies are doing that. So it's like it's a very weak side of our cyber security that
Yeah.
that China just frankly got a hold on, and now people are looking at it and like, oh, this is very bad. And
Yeah.
I'm glad, like I said earlier in the pod, like I'm glad someone, there's probably some kind of millennial or Zer and the government is like, yo, we need to look at this because this is
Yeah.
getting out of hand. So
It is funny though that Trump, when he was still in office, was, he was the one like stomping about this. I'm sure some, advisor brought this shit
yeah,
up, and
yep, 100%, yeah.
they ran with it at that point. But he was the one on Twitter banging about it, like, oh, 10 cent can't, we gotta look at 10 cent or whatever, and frankly, Biden took it, is continued that investigation. So at least that's something that was legitimate there. And frankly, like we said, we've talked about this for months now, that like that this is, we've been concerned about this for a while, not in any like tangible way. I can't point to a reason to be super concerned necessarily, but
It was just
a
really weird, and it was
massive
not a good
Chinese, yeah, like
yeah.
massive Chinese conglomerate just buying up American video game companies and media companies in general is
Well, we
I don't
saw
know.
we saw like the ramifications of that when the
Hmm.
whole Hong Kong thing happened, and companies
Hmm.
were not speaking up against it. There were Hong Kong
Yeah.
players from Hong Kong who
Yeah,
were
dude.
speaking out against it, and they were getting
Yep. Fucking Blizzard, man.
fired off teams and everything. Yeah,
Yep.
it was crazy. And then even with
Hmm.
Riot Games, like I believe they had like some kind of secret meeting with their team holders, like, yo, don't have your teammates say this stuff like that, free Hong Kong and everything. There are people getting banned off League of Legends for that shit too. So
Yeah.
for saying free Hong Kong in the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
So this is just one of the things they can do to our video games. Like if we wanted to help Hong Kong out or raise awareness, people couldn't do that because they were
Yeah.
getting banned.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So it's something we'll continue to monitor. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. It's definitely very interesting in that regard. So, all right, let's move on, Montrell. Sony, they kind of had a mixed week, I'd say, this week, but this was a very good, some very good news. Jim Ryan announced on the PlayStation blog, or the SIE blog, that Sony is entering into a partnership with Discord, and they are going to be integrating the Discord application into the PlayStation 5 interface, and it should be coming early next year, so 2022. The PSN's party interface has long been a kind of a sore spot, in my opinion. I don't think it works very well. I don't like it very much. I've never wanted to use it. I much preferred actually using Discord for game discussions. So this to me is a very, very good announcement. But Montrell, how do you feel about this?
Um, I think we ate shit on this, right? We got to eat shit on this, right?
We did that. You're right. We do need to eat crow. Me and Montreal were saying Sony would never do this. When we were talking about Microsoft acquiring Discord, that they would never integrate Discord into the PlayStation interface. Man, we're eating so much shit right now. I do want to give that credit where it's due, because
Yeah,
we got that wrong for sure.
yeah. Kudos to them because their fucking chat system is ass. I remember we
Yep.
were trying to play it and we were like, "What did we do?" I mean, now we understand it now, but like, I just
Yeah.
don't like the way their chat system set up right now. So if Discord takes over, thank fucking God, because
Hmm.
man, uh, just just to be on channels on Discord and just playing and everything like that, that would be. We don't know how they're going to integrate it yet, but it has to have that kind of functionality to it. Like I
Well,
can't
do
see
we
them.
would we be able to use our server that we use for gaming? Like, because we have one amongst our friends that we use, and that would be kind of cool, dude. If we could be on there while we're on, playing games on PlayStation,
Yeah,
that's
that'd be
fucking
cool.
sick. Like that's a really cool. That'd be a cool integration. So I hope that happens for sure.
It does suck though because I was hoping Discord comes to like other platforms like the Xbox and the Switch and everything like that nature. So
Mm-hmm.
with this partnership, I'm pretty sure that's going to be in somewhere in the fine print that you can't do multi-plat stuff.
Yeah.
But I am PlayStation right now is my primary console, so I am proud of that they're taking steps. Someone it's probably in Jim Ryan's ear and like, hey, like our fucking chat system sucks. Can we just get Discord to do it? And that makes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is a proven platform, frankly, that is really good. Discord's like, out of all the chat platforms we've had on PC over the years, like what was it? TeamSpeak. Ventrilo, some of these other ones that have happened in the interim between those. Like this is probably the best one, I'd say. Um, it used to have some weird problems, but they seem to have fixed most of them in recent years. So
Yeah.
I actually really like Discord now. I think it's great. And the interesting part about this is a big win for Sony from a kind of competition standpoint, because remember, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago, is that Microsoft was in talks to like acquire Discord, like buy the company Discord, at which point that would have locked Sony out from getting this kind of deal to happen,
Yeah.
and then that deal seems to have fallen through. Like they didn't end up taking the deal that Microsoft had on the table, and they ended up going with like doing this partnership with Sony instead, which is interesting because they probably took Sony's money and then they're like, well, we can stay independent too. Like we don't have to be owned by anybody as well. So this is a huge win in that regard, because not only did they get Discord, but they kind of took it away from Xbox,
Yep.
which
Exactly. Yep.
that is not a small thing, given the fact that Microsoft was also trying to acquire these guys. So
I'm actually
um,
glad they did that because I mean, look at what
yeah,
happened to what
Skype.
team? Yeah, Skype. It just
Yep.
became shit when it became when it
Yeah,
got
dude.
integrated
Oh
into
my god.
Microsoft's ecosystem.
Yeah.
And they did have it, to their dismay. They did have it on everything. They had it on the Xbox 360 and everything, and it worked fine on
Hmm.
there. I remember using it
Yeah.
for a while, but it's just like after that, business wise, on the business end of it, it was not that great. Um, and I believe they're going to try to buy. What was the other one we were using? Uh, our job.
Ooh.
It wasn't Teams before Teams. What was it called?
Floater?
Slack.
Slack. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Slack,
believe they
Slack,
were going to
Slack.
try to buy Slack, but they just end up copying Slack. So
Yeah. They ended up investing in Teams instead and
yeah,
making their own thing out of it.
yeah,
So yeah, I'm excited for this, dude. Frankly, because yeah, like when I'm playing console games, those nights where I'm playing on console, I don't get on Discord, but I might actually do that now because I can play my game and still hear it, and then get on Discord and talk to the guys or something,
exactly. Yep.
So that's kind of going to be an interesting change. That hopefully it happens the way I'm envisioning it, but which I assume it probably, they hopefully would fight for that. But even if it's just exclusive to the PlayStation, though, like you can only make servers within the PlayStation ecosystem that communicate with each other. Even that, though, that's going to be better than what they have now. So,
Yeah.
because I would assume there might be integration with the Discord app too, which you'd be able to like talk, chat potentially with people on PlayStation too, which would be kind of cool. Like text chat is what I mean.
Yeah.
So that'd be kind of cool too. So there's a lot of potential for this, I think, and I think we were both talking about this even before the Microsoft thing, was like, get something like this, somebody who knows how to do this and like put it on your console, because clearly you guys don't know how to do this, very well,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so that's good. Okay. Next story is also Sony centric, and this is another thing that came out that I referenced earlier that came out of the Epic versus Apple case, is that there's some documents and some emails that came out of this that were revealed from a few years ago when Epic was trying to get crossplay going on Fortnite, and it didn't paint Sony in a good light, because Sony basically was charging Epic to allow crossplay with other platforms. And man, Montreal, it's not a good look, is it?
No. First of all, they really do not want a crossplay at all.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Square, like Final Fantasy 14, if they gotta pay just to do crossplay with PC. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's having me question a lot of things now, like the crossplay between Activision, and maybe Activision kind of had that workaround with their own network they do, because when you crossplay on a Modern Warfare, you have to actually create an account on their server. But
Yeah.
I actually wonder, like, do they still have to charge? Do they still charge for that? Like, there's a lot of questions now as far as like why Sony's been making the moves they make. It makes a lot of
Mm-hmm.
sense now as far as some things, because I remember, was it Fortnite? They were having like really, they were being really anal about crossplay. for a while. I don't know. It was another game that we talked about. It was really popular,
Yeah.
and they were being super anal
Hmm.
about it. But this makes sense now. It just makes a lot of sense, and I don't put it past them to charge for crossplay because they need the money right now. But my biggest thing is how quiet everyone on my side of the stratosphere, everyone was quiet
Hmm.
about this. Like I didn't see anyone talking about it. Some people mentioned it here and there, but then it just went under the radar. But
Hmm.
let Nintendo or let fucking Microsoft do this shit. Holy fucking shit. Especially Microsoft. If Microsoft did this shit, oh man.
They're
Everyone,
the worst company ever, man. They
yeah,
would
they're the
get
worst.
fucking filleted.
There will be protests in the streets. There will be rioting, bro. The,
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
would be bad. Like, oh, you don't stand for the gamers. Gamers first. Like there will be uproar. But once
Yeah.
again, Sony goes under the radar, man. I'm just saying there's a clear bias in our media for one company. So
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And like, dude, I'm reading this right. Like, I skimmed it before the show, but I'm kind of reading it more in detail now. And dude, how ridiculous is this? There's like a little graphic that they have that leaked where they have to pay if like a certain amount of revenue is so okay. So this is where Sony's hang up was, I guess. And I kind of get this actually, like thinking about it now from their perspective, but basically if they enable cross platform, which they've done, that means that you're also enabling cross progression, which means that you can buy stuff on another platform and bring it over to your character or account on the Sony platform, right? So if I buy a skin on Xbox, I'll have that skin on PlayStation. And Sony's hang up is that they don't want that. They want you to buy the skin on PlayStation. So apparently what they've required is if a player plays the game primarily on PlayStation, and then PlayStation sees that player bought something on another platform and brought it over, they might charge Epic depending on how much money that customer generated on other platforms to make up for the lost revenue that they didn't get from that customer. So that's really weird. It makes sense, I guess. I can understand that from their perspective, but at the
that's just
same
greedy.
time, well, I think another thing is think about this though. Say V Bucks are on sale on iOS for whatever, or even just like something's on sale on the Apple Store, the App Store that allows them to spend less money to get a skin, and then they bring it over to PlayStation. That kind of thing is what Sony's trying to like circumvent, I think, because they don't really, I don't, they probably don't put V Bucks on sale, or they don't put things on sale nearly as much in regards to microtransactions, at least. It's probably up to Epic though what platforms they do sales on. So I don't know. That's where it gets a little weird, honestly. But I can see where Sony's coming from. It's just, I mean, come on, man. No one else is doing this. Microsoft ain't making as much money as you, and they're not doing this shit. They aren't pinching the pennies. I guess they're Microsoft though, so they don't have to. But even Nintendo though, even Nintendo, Sony, Nintendo, come on, isn't doing this. Like, come on, guys. Fucking Apple, even. Like, so I don't know. That's I mean, this is the Sony we're dealing with now. They charge developers for cross platform. So that might explain though. This kind of explains, I think, why we're not seeing cross platform as much on PlayStation, because they probably do this with most developers. They might have a specific agreement with each one of how much money, things cost, but
Hmm.
I doubt there's any developers that are getting away with this for free for the most part, and that's probably scaring them away, you know.
Yeah. Um, I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, I think there should be more backlash behind this, but I just don't
Mhm.
see it happening. Like I just don't see people talking about it as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I
Because I
agree with
know
you, man.
I
I
know
haven't
we've
seen it
been
either.
pushing for cross-platform for a while. Not just
Mhm.
me and you, but like everyone. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, they just I, it's just weird to me. It's weird. So
Yeah, I mean Sony, man, they're the stick in the mud, dude. That's their role in video games right now. They're kind of stick in the mud. I know they've had a couple nice things that have happened recently, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they still do shit like this. Like we can't forget that, guys. All of a sudden, just because they're not closing the PS3 store and the Vita store, they're not heroes. All of a sudden, like they still do shit like this, even though this was years ago. This is still kind of who they are at the end of the day. So keep that in mind
Did you see
and be
that
critical.
that little Twitch stream that Jim Ryan did to show that he plays video games?
Oh no, 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 no. He didn't. He didn't. When did this
Yeah.
happen?
Like last week, I think. I'm surprised you
Oh
didn't see it
my
on Twitch. It was
no,
funny.
I didn't, dude. I need to watch this after the show. Oh my god, that has to be gold. What was he playing? What the fuck was he playing? Was
Ah,
he playing
shit.
Gran Turismo 3? The motherfucker? Was he playing some old game, old ass game to prove that he likes old games?
No, he was playing something, and like people were like on it, and like, yeah, you're not playing the game. Someone else is playing because like his hands weren't visible. So if somebody thought someone else was playing the game, but the game that he was playing, I can't remember it, but I just remember like, oh, that's actually impressive that he's playing this game right now. So
Yeah. Was he playing like Dark Souls?
it
Or
was
like
something
Demon Souls?
akin to that. Yeah, I can't remember
Really?
though.
Oh, that's fucking funny, dude. I need to find this, man, and watch that. Oh, that's funny, dude. That's awesome. He's trying to get good PR out there. Control the narrative that I am a gamer, guys. What are you talking about? I'm not just some businessman. Somebody in Sony told him oh, this looks bad, Jim. Oh no. Somebody in a meeting room's like, "Hey, man, we need to get you out there playing games. All right, man. Like, we need to change the narrative about you, Jim. That you're not a gamer. That you're a businessman. Like that. That's not looking good for us. Okay, that's not a good look for Sony. So we got to get you on Twitch, bro." It's so fucking funny to me,
Yeah, I wish I can find it. I'm trying to look for it now, but
dude.
it came across my feed and I forgot to link
Mhm.
it to you because I was like busy doing work. But yeah, it was hilarious.
Hold on, I'm looking this up right now. Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan. Okay, I can't find it. I'll find it. I'll find it after the show. But yeah, that's funny, dude. That's hilarious. Okay. Well, let's move on. We got one more Sony story. Here is Neil Druckmann was on a podcast called the Script Apart podcast this past week, and he was talking about writing The Last of Us Part 2, but he mentioned the possibility of a sequel here. And here's the quote. Quote, "I don't know how much I want to reveal. Co-writer Haley Gross and I did write an outline for a story that we're not making, but I hope one day can see the light of day. That explores a little bit of what happens after this game. We'll see." But he then goes on to say that there's been quite a bit of discussion internally about Part 3, but that it would be a lot of work for the developer. But, and then the quote continues, "These games take so much time to make. I've been thinking about it for Part 2, I've been thinking about for 7 years. Between when the last game came out and when this came out, you want to make sure you're jazzed by the idea that you have, that it feels like it's challenging. We're now we've now had two games that I feel speak to something universal as well as telling a very personal story for these characters. With one game, there's no pattern of what a franchise is. With two games, now there's starting to be a pattern. Now I feel like there are some structural and thematic themes you'd have to stick to if you're making a third game." And they're currently exploring what to do next. But Montrell, it sounds like they're really considering a Last of Us Part 3 right now at Naughty Dog. We know they're working on Factions, which is the Last of Us multiplayer standalone game that they're working on. We know they're working on that Uncharted game that we talked about a few weeks ago that was at Bend, that took off from Bend, and they're also working on a Last of Us remake right now. So that means they have three projects already in the works, and then they're thinking about their next major project for the rest of the team, I guess. What do you think of this? Do you want a part 3? Do you think this series needs a part 3?
No, I can't remember the end of part 2. To be honest with you, I'm trying to remember the end right now, and I
Okay, I
can't
don't want to
remember it.
spoil it, but it is fairly open ended.
Okay, I'm trying to remember it.
people kind of go their separate ways, and things aren't wrapped up, in my opinion.
Okay.
Remember, Ellie's
Uh
in the house by herself,
oh
kind of.
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now I remember. Thanks. All right. Uh, I actually, if they're gonna do a part three, right?
Hmm.
I want a totally separate story. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want Ellie or Abby. I don't care. I mean, I care about those characters, but I feel like their
Hmm.
arcs have been
Mm,
solved. Um, I guess it would be cool to see what Abby does after that whole situation happens, and
yeah.
she gets back on the boat and everything of that nature. So I think that would be cool to see. But I don't want an entire game of Abby. Even though I thought
Mm,
she was a really cool character, I would actually like to see like maybe the other side of the country or maybe another part of
a
the
prequel
world. Yeah, or yeah, prequel. That'd be cool too.
with like Joel before he met Ellie. That would be interesting.
Yeah,
Like, what kind of fucked up shit was he getting up to?
yeah. Like
Uh,
I don't know, just I guess like yeah, another part of the world or something like that. So it doesn't have to be The Last of Us Part 3. It can just be like The Last of Us. I don't know, fucking
wilderness
yeah,
or something.
wilderness or
Yeah.
UK or whatever. I don't fucking
Yeah.
know. So like,
Yeah.
uh, I would just like to see that because I think a lot of franchises don't do that. We don't see what the rest of the world is doing. We always see what America's
Mm,
doing from
mm,
our
mm-hmm,
perspective or whatever. And that I guess that makes sense because anime
mm-hmm,
does the same thing with Japan. But uh, yeah, I'd just like to see another perspective uh outside of these guys. And I don't want to see any connection, to be honest with you. Maybe we get like a thing where like on looking major events, like
mm-hmm,
they're like traveling through the city at the same time. These events are happening in Last of Us 1 and 2. But
mm-hmm.
their story is a really personal story to where it's not, you know, life changing or whatever. Like it's not world ending or whatever. Because I feel like even though Last of Us Part Two was more personal, I still feel like it had that epicness of like this is almost the fate of the human race type deal. But like with the
I
factions.
mean, to be fair, there is an element of that in it where, I mean, Ellie is immune, so
Yeah, that's true.
like her dying is a bad thing for humanity.
Yeah.
So
Um.
okay, I've seen a lot of the same sentiment out there on Twitter and otherwise, that a lot of people don't want a part 3. And okay, there's multiple layers to this, right? There's the merits of the actual Last of Us Part 3 itself, but then there's the idea of, do we want Naughty Dog working on a third Last of Us game in a row after making Last of Us 1, 2, and then a 3, and the only game we've gotten besides that is Uncharted 4, in that period of time. That part I totally get, is that maybe we want a little variety, maybe a break. Maybe The Last of Us Part 3 can be a, PS6 game. We don't need that right now. We don't need them to do that immediately after making Part 2. From the actual in-game story perspective, I actually disagree with you. I think there is a very clear and obvious place that this can go. It is very counter to the first two games in terms of theme and really the tone of the game. I don't think you have to sacrifice the brutality necessarily to tell this story, but I am going to spoil The Last of Us Part 2 real quick. So push ahead like a minute if you don't want to hear this. But where the game left off is that Abby and Ellie, went their separate ways basically, and Ellie had lost everything, and she literally had lost fingers and couldn't even play the guitar anymore. Like, it was really like brutally, kind of almost hitting you over the head with the what she had lost, in this journey for revenge. But that the characters are alive, both of them, and Abby was the daughter of a doctor trying to make a vaccine for the fucking cordyceps virus. Ellie is immune to the cordyceps virus, and they were going to use her to make the vaccine. So there's a really obvious arc there where these characters redeem themselves, both of them redeem themselves by coming together and making that vaccine. And I know that's like a little bit too bright and positive maybe of a story, but that you don't have to make it like happy-go-lucky rainbows. It could be a really brutal story to get there. They have to do some really fucked up shit, maybe kill some people they don't have they don't want to, or they shouldn't, in order to make this happen, that kind of thing, or they might have to sacrifice people in order to achieve that goal. You can still have that kind of brutality in there. So I think there's a powerful story there, and I think it would be really powerful to see Ellie come full circle with that. Personally, I think that. But I'm higher on The Last of Us Part 2 story than a lot of other people are. So, um, I'm not as opposed to it. Now, I will say, I do agree. I would like to see something new from Naughty Dog, a different genre, something that isn't a third person shooter, because we haven't gotten that in 15 years, really, from them. So it would be nice to see them dabble in something else, maybe a first person game or a platform game of some sort. I don't know. So I could see that, but I don't really have a problem with it no matter what, though, what they decide to go with, because I do think they make great games. They're going to make sure their game is good, whatever they decide to make. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on it, personally. You could flip a coin, and I don't think I'd be mad with either way it went, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think, Montrell? Does that story sound good to you, or do you hate it? You're just like, I don't care. I don't want to see these characters again.
No, I actually like the characters. I just I prefer, I guess in that retrospect, yeah, I forgot how open ended the ending was, like
Mm-hmm.
as far as like the character relationships to past characters and events and stuff like that. And there is
Yep.
a lot of open endedness to it. I don't think they want to end the universe though, just
Mm,
yet. So like a part three, maybe they'll do with something I suggest, right? And then we
yeah.
get a part three like years later when
Mm,
they're done making money off the series and everything of that nature. Because if they release part three, then they can't really do. They had to do spin-offs and everything like that,
or prequels, or
prequels and everything before part three. And this is happening in between part two and part three, and uh, it would be a whole big deal writing wise. Because what if you set up some kind of writing or barriers in part three that can't happen in the prequels anymore?
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I
No.
think that's what he's trying to get at on this. Like he
Yeah.
wants to do it, but there are so many other realities or possibilities that they can do that making a part three right now would be at their detriment.
Yeah.
So
Well, also, there's another element to this. I heard on another podcast somebody bring up. It's actually a really good point, though. Imagine being a developer at Naughty Dog, and you go in every day, and you're having a great day or whatever, great morning. You have your little breakfast or your coffee or whatever, and you drive into the office, and what are you doing? You're animating dudes getting their heads fucking destroyed by bats or fucking hammers or guns or whatever, and like it's just this like brutality you're animating and creating art for. All it's like that can't be something that is easy to do necessarily every day. So there's an element of that too, that maybe Naughty Dog, the developer, like the people working there, kind of need to break from this kind of thing too. Maybe something a little lighter tone. So that's a possibility as well. So cool. All right, Montreal, let's move on. We've got one more story here. This leaked earlier this week, but Blizzard's confirmed it. World of Warcraft Burning Crusade Classic is launching on June 1st. That is a slim 3.5 weeks from now. Montrell, is Blizzard making you shit your pants? Are you going to be playing this game when it comes out?
I don't know
I
yet,
know.
man. I don't know
I
yet.
know.
That's a
I
huge
know.
commitment. That's a
I
very huge
know.
commitment.
Why is it so soon? I didn't expect this.
That's so
I'm
huge.
kind of pissed.
Because Burning Crusade is my favorite. That's my personal favorite one. Like I love
Me
Burning
too.
Crusade.
And
Uh,
we have friends that feel the same way too.
I
And
just don't want it to be like the first time we did it. I would love to get back into it, but the first time we did it,
yeah,
it
yeah,
was it just wasn't for me. you
I
know.
agree. I agree. I think
Uh
we all had that. I think we all had to come to Jesus with that, like
yeah.
come to terms with that.
We had to realize that
Um,
we're not teenagers anymore or in our early 20s with no
yeah.
responsibilities. So
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, I would love to actually play with Burning Crusade again, especially like a party. I played through it by myself and I had fucking fun. So I can only
Yeah.
imagine, playing with the boys and stuff like that.
Dude, we could raid Karazhan. It's my favorite WoW raid is Karazhan, and it's the first 10-man in Burning Crusade, and it's so fucking good. And we wouldn't need that much to do it. Like,
Yeah.
it's only 10 people. You don't need that many people to do it. Like, we can make it happen, I feel like. So I know, but that's the problem is like we put expectations on ourselves, I think, with vanilla. And it didn't work out, It really just didn't work out for us. And I don't know. So it's just this is so soon. I don't know if I'm gonna be ready to do this on June 1. I was thinking August or September probably for this,
Yeah,
and that
I'm gonna
sounds a lot
wait.
more. That sounds a lot more palatable to me. But the problem is, like, the fun of this is jumping in when it starts. That's the real fun of it, and that was the fun of it with Classic too. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I got to think about it. I don't even think our friends know this yet either. By the way, we need to tell them. So,
No, we don't,
um,
because then they'll force us to play.
oh man, I mean, now you're telling me to keep a secret, dude. I don't know if I can do that. Not with this particular piece of information, anyway. So, but yeah, kudos to Blizzard, I guess, for making this happen so soon. It's going to be happening on 3 p.m. Pacific, June 1st. You know what the funny part about this is that we're gonna be, or at least in my case, I work from home a lot now, and that wasn't the case when Classic launched. So we were doing weird. You guys, I remember, were doing such weird, wonky shit where you were like downloading these like apps that you could use to fucking remote into your home computer to start your WoW queue or whatever. You remember that
Yeah.
shit? So I don't have to do that now. I can literally just walk up to my computer and start the fucking queue, and get in the game, So that shouldn't be as big of a problem for me this time, which that was a huge problem the first time. Like, that really killed it for me because I wasn't getting online until like 10 o'clock in the evening, which kind of sucked. So, but we'll see. If we do play it, we'll definitely talk about it on the show. So, all right, Montrell, that's it for news. We've got 2 questions that we need to talk about, and they are from Dat Dude. Once again, thank you for the questions, man. I like these as well as last week's. Montreal, the first one from Dat Dude. What are your top 5 video game OSTs? Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. I got my top 5. We both wrote them down because this was hard to keep in my head because there's a lot. Video game music to me, the reason I like this question too is that video game music to me is actually really underrated. I think in general, video game music, there's a lot of excellent video game music out there, and I really wish people would give it more of a chance.
I wish I had a
Than
category in fucking awards and shit like that, man.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that would be excellent, and I think, unfortunately, the problem with it is that it is few and far between sometimes, is that audio in some games, especially in a lot of AAA games, is just not that important to the developers, and they don't put a lot of money and effort into it, and it
Yeah.
shows a lot of the time. But when you do, audio, and I'm not just talking the music, ambiance, sound, and all that can really enhance a game's immersion factor.
Yeah.
But so to get in the games, the actual OSTs, I'll start from the bottom, I guess, and work my way up. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn is an excellent game, but the soundtrack in that game, dude, is fucking the best in the Fire Emblem series, in my opinion. It's so good. I just the map themes and the battle themes are excellent. It is a game that I don't turn the battle animations off because the music in the battle is so good that they play, and it's just a really like high tempo music, which is funny because it's a turn-based strategy game,
Mhm.
but really excellent soundtrack. The next one on my list here is Odin Sphere, life throw seer. I don't know how to say that. I always say it weird. But this game's soundtrack is phenomenal. It is not something I would call a typical video game soundtrack. I think it's got a lot more melody to it than most game soundtracks have, and the music's beautiful in this game. The next one's an easy one. I think everyone would agree with this. Persona 5. Persona 5 Royal. Dude, I mean, come on. Soundtrack in this game just fucking rocks the shit. It's so fucking good, consistently excellent. So Persona series always has good music, but 5 really took it up a level, I feel like, in terms of production and everything. The next one is kind of obscure. Heroes of Might and Magic 4. This is a strategy game, turn-based strategy game from PC from the early 2000s. The game itself was highly divisive, and frankly, was the reason that the New World Computing, the company that made this series, went out of business. But the game itself, notwithstanding, the music in it is excellent, and was made. I don't remember the composer's name, but it's one of the few video game soundtracks he made, and it was excellent work. I really, really love it. And the last one, and this is probably one of my favorites of all time in video games, is Xenoblade Chronicles. I mean, I raved about this game plenty. If you want to hear about the game itself, go back and listen to shows from a year ago when the definitive edition came out, because I couldn't say enough great things about it. But the soundtrack, dude, the soundtrack is fucking amazing in this game. The area themes, the battle themes, the cinematic themes, and and particularly in the cutscenes, dude, they use the right music in the right moments all the time, and it enhances the scenes. Like, it really fucking does, man. So like, it's just, I don't know, the music's just excellent in Xenoblade Chronicles. So Montrell, what are your top 5?
All right, so I also put Xenoblade Chronicles 1 in there. Also put Persona 5 in there. I was really hesitant on putting Persona 5 because you mentioned it already. So if I had to choose, I had to switch that one out. I would switch it out with Kingdom Hearts 2.
Yeah,
I feel like,
great soundtrack.
yeah, that one kind of set the tone for, and I know other people are like, oh, well, Kingdom Hearts 3 or Birth by Sleep or blah, blah, blah. I feel like Kingdom Hearts 2 set the tone for everything as far as the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Of course, you can kind of counter that with a 1, but like, we didn't have Organization 13 in 1. We had Organization 13 and 2, and we had separate music for each and every one of them, or the ones that you did fight in 2 that were left, which is funny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you fought them, you got their themes and everything of that nature. And then obviously, for me, I love Hollow Bastion's music. I don't know
Oh yeah.
why, but Hollow
Yep.
Bastion is like one of my favorite world musics. It's like,
Yeah.
it's tense, but it's not tense. It's also calm at the same time. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. And another game, Streets of Rage 2 and 4. So 2 for me is nostalgia. I love 2. I'm a huge electronic music and house music savant. Like, I love electronic and house music. And Streets of Rage 2 did that era of 90s music was so good on the Genesis. I remember the Genesis actually was getting raved because it had some kind of audio chip in it that allowed audio to be more clear, and you can definitely tell like how clear the music was. This Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack has spawned off like DJs making remixes and everything, like on YouTube, and even going to like parties and stuff. They will play like the first stage's music. That's how iconic it is, in my opinion. And then 4 follow that up with the same composer, and that music is actually really good. It doesn't hit just as good as 2, but I think it's still worth mentioning that 4, which is actually out. You can play on the Switch right now, or any other platform, PC, Xbox, and PS5, PS4, PS5. The soundtrack is really good. It sets the tone for like beat 'em ups and everything of that nature. A good beat 'em up is surrounded by a great fucking soundtrack. And Streets of Rage, a lot of people will say Final Fight is their best beat 'em up, or Fatal Fury, maybe Final Fight. Is their like best beat 'em up, or Double Dragon? But I think Streets of Rage is like the pinnacle of like what a beat 'em up is. Besides maybe the Ninja Turtle ones, like that's the only one to kind of rival it. So another game is a old Dreamcast game called Toy Commander.
What the
And
fuck is this?
yeah, so Toy Commander is a game where I'll just give you the plot. The plot is like you're a pilot who fell asleep at the fucking cockpit or whatever, and you're flying a commercial airline. You fall asleep, and during your time of sleep, you're a kid, and obviously he had dreams of being a pilot and everything like that. So he's playing with toys, but his toys are attacking him. So you have to do certain missions and everything to fight like major toys in the thing. So you take command of certain toys like tanks and airplanes and everything of that nature, and you get certain missions done.
Mm-hmm.
But the music was just phenomenal. It had like this kind of house, like house music atmosphere going on with it. It was house music, but it wasn't all the way electronic. It was more so house, and I don't want to say techno either because I don't think it was techno. So I just gonna go with house music. It was really good house music. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like whoever was in charge of this was like, "Yo, I'm gonna put this on my resume. I'm gonna make the best house music ever," and they did. They make
Yeah.
some really good house music for that game. I listen to the soundtrack like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then the last one is a PS1 game called Ridge Racer Revolution. Not really too much to say because if you're a Ridge
Ridge
Racer fan,
Racer.
yeah, if you're a Ridge Racer fan, you know off rip every Ridge Racer has the best
Mm-hmm.
soundtrack. In my opinion, I like Project Gotham Racing, for even Forza, Gran Turismo. They don't set the mood as far as music wise like Ridge Racer does. Ridge Racer has some of the best music I've ever heard as far as a driving game goes. And Ridge Racer Revolution continues that trend of like 90s uh
Mm-hmm.
90s house music and electronic music, and they also have something called ghetto tech in there as well. But this was made by a Japanese composer as well. So, but he was kind of biting off like, well, he had inspiration. I won't say biting because he had inspiration from American like house music and everything of that nature and electronic music. And you can tell it in the soundtrack when they make it because that was like super big in the 90s. So I really like that. I really think you guys should check that out if you like those. That's why these are my personal favorite. Nothing too much to say about Persona 5 that Justin didn't already say, and nothing to say
Mm-hmm.
too much to say about Xenoblade Chronicles that Justin didn't say because I agree with everything he said 100%. And actually, I didn't listen to Xenoblade Chronicles. I'm not coming from a place of like bias. This is like recently I listened to the remastered versions and they're really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honorable mention for me, Mega Man X 1, 2, 3 soundtracks. Those are fucking dope.
Mega Man 8 on the PS1. It's really good for me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Our second question, also from that dude. What is a retro and modern game that you consider must play video games? Montrell, I'll let you go first on this one.
I would have to say for me, modern Titanfall 2.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, one of the best um FPSs I've ever played, besides like Halo or something like that.
Yeah.
People love Apex Legends for the movement. Like Titanfall 2 takes that to the next level. There's a lot of stuff you
Mm-hmm.
can't do in Apex that you can do in Titanfall 2.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I've heard that.
yeah, and it's just the symmetry that you have with your robot, with your Titanfall, or with your Titan rather, and your pilot, which is your player, your character, is crazy. Not only that, but the single player is actually really fucking good. It has an actual single player.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like just like the symmetry that you guys can do and the moves you can do and everything of that nature, like it is a mech game, and I am surprised that this game didn't take off as much as it did because it is a very fun mech slash Call of Duty shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And Call of Duty
Yeah.
wishes it had the movement of this game. Like it wishes it does. It's so
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yeah, I need to play this game, dude. It's on my list. I think I'm gonna download it on my Xbox from because it's on Game Pass. So, I think I'm going to put this on there and install it because, yeah, I love Apex and I don't know. I feel like I'm almost robbing myself of a really great experience with the single player in this game. So, um, yeah, everybody who played this game has raved about it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say anything bad about Titanfall 2, like to be honest. So,
And then my retro game is Ape Escape.
mm-hmm.
So I chose this game because this was the first game that I know of. Maybe there's other games that utilize the DualShock, the two stick functionality that we play
Mm.
now, the modern way that we
Mm-hmm.
play platformers. This was the game to do that. Um, they really took it to the next level because I remember when platformers came out, I couldn't use a DualShock stick to save my life. But then when this game came out, it kind of forced you to. It kind of forced platformers to say, "This is the way of the future. This is how you use these sticks to play platformers." And Ape Escape is a retro like if you like Mario, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro or any of these platformers, Sonic or anything like that, go back and play Ape Escape on the PS1. Probably one of the best
Mm-hmm.
platformers I've ever played. It's the platformer for me. Like people will say like Mario Galaxy or Super Mario 64. Like in my opinion, Ape Escape is above both of those because it was just such a good. You get different gadgets to get to different spots and everything. It's just such a good game.
That is a good pick, man. All right, my games. My first one is actually one that I called the soundtrack on the list above is Odin Sphere Life Trouser. I don't know. Life Trouser? Yeah, that sounds better. We'll go with that. It is a remake. I know. It's a remake of the PlayStation 2 game, Odin Sphere. Yeah, so I'm kind of cheating a little bit. It is because it is originally a retro game. However, and to define, actually, we defined this before the show. What do we consider retro? I personally consider retro a game that was 2 generations back or older. So right now, that would mean Xbox 360, PS3. That is considered retro. Anything before that is retro. PS4, Xbox One, that's not retro. So that's kind of my definition of it. But everybody kind of, it's a subjective thing. There's no real like official definition of it. But so yeah, Odin Sphere. The reason I'm putting it on here as a modern game is because the remake completely changes the gameplay. Like the game is like completely transformed. So it's like a new game. It's not like a lot of the content and some of the things that happen in the game are the same, but the actual playing of the game is completely changed, and it's fucking awesome. This is a 2D platformer that is beautiful hand drawn sprites. And it is an action game, primarily combat focused. And dude, when I tell you that this game is just an absolute fucking joy from start to finish, I am not kidding with you. It is one of my favorite games on PlayStation 4. It is one of my favorite games I've ever played. I love the story in it. I love the combat in it. I love the character progression in it. Everything about it is just so like wonderfully realized, and it is such a fun game. So um if you're looking for like a JRPG that's a little different from what you'd be used to, like in terms of like Final Fantasy or something like that, this game is off that beaten path. It is not like those games in any way. It tells 5 different stories from the points of view of 5 different characters, and they're happening concurrently with each other. So some of the things that happen in one character's story overlap with another character's story, and you get to see that from both perspectives. And how they kind of meet and come together and then part again. And then there's stories after you play through those 5 stories as well that happen afterwards. And the game's story overall just wraps up in a really beautiful way. Too, it's very, I don't know. It's just to me, it's Vanillaware's best game. But I say that having not played 13 Sentinels Age Rim. So, but I can't recommend it enough. So that's my modern game. My retro game is one I've mentioned a few times on the show, on this podcast over the years, but not too much. Is Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and this is an old turn-based strategy game, and it is kind of ripped from a series called King's Bounty. They kind of heavily borrowed from that game's style in terms of what it was, because it's a strategy game where you have a castle, which is like your base, and you build the castle up, and you can make one building per turn. And then some of these buildings generate creatures, which you buy, and that makes up your army. And you can attack other people with that army, and then you fight them on like a hex-based battlefield, and it's turn-based. And all the creatures have different statistics, abilities. There's multiple different types of towns that have different creatures. There's like a human town, there's an elf town, there's a barbarian town, there's an undead town. There's like 9 of them, I think, total. And they're all completely different from each other. They have totally different styles of combat and creatures and all this stuff. But it is I was telling Montrell before the show, it is probably in my top 3 games of all time. Actually, it's definitely in my top 3 games of all time. It is probably my most played game ever, period. I've played this game for thousands of hours with my dad. when I was younger, and it was our go-to game when we were bored and didn't know what to play. We would just boot up Heroes Might and Magic 3 and play a fucking randomly generated map in that game. It was endlessly replayable in that regard, and it's just a fucking excellent strategy game. Extremely unique. I know I said it ripped off King's Bounty, but it did what King's Bounty did way better than King's Bounty. King's Bounty is nothing compared to Heroes Might and Magic 3, in my opinion, because Heroes Might and Magic 3 is a competitive game. King's Bounty was more of a single player, kind of like almost like adventure game in the way it was set up. You weren't fighting like other players necessarily, where Heroes of Might and Magic is you're fighting other players and you're trying to beat them all basically. So excellent game, highly recommended. Very accessible as well. You can get it on Steam, you can get it through GOG. I would recommend the GOG version. Do not get the HD edition on Steam. That edition sucks, in my opinion. So I would go with GOG and get the original version. It plays excellent. There are mods you can download to enhance the resolution as well, so you can fit it on your more modern screens as well. But dude, the game's super good. I always go back and play it occasionally, every once in a while, because it scratches an itch that literally no other video game I have ever played scratches. Like, it is that unique. So highly recommended for me. The more modern Heroes of Might and Magic games, Ubisoft has acquired the license and they've run the series into the ground. It's a complete shell of what it was. This is the one to play. Number 3. 4 is good too. I like 4. 2 is also good. But 3 is the one that I recommend the most. So, all right, Montrell. We've answered our listener questions. We've gotten through the news. And I think we're done for the week. Is there anything you'd like to discuss before we head out?
No. Have you watched Invincible yet?
No.
I need
Should
you
I?
to,
Is it
I need,
over?
I need
Is
you to
the
watch
season
it.
over?
Yeah, the season's over.
Season 1 over?
So you can binge it.
Where can I watch it?
Amazon.
Amazon Prime?
Yeah, you got an Amazon Prime account, right?
Fuck. Okay. That might be my homework for the weekend. You know, I don't. You know how I am though. I don't like to jump on these shows immediately because I'm gonna fall in love with the show, and then I'm gonna be really upset that I have to wait like months, like a year, to watch the next season. You know, but
I know, but I think you should watch it. I think you'll like it.
I know I'm gonna like it. I know what it is, dude. I know what it is. I know the concept, and I know some of the story a little bit, and I know I'm gonna like it. So you're probably right. I should probably check it out. How many episodes is it? Is it like 10, 12?
I think it's like 8 episodes. They're an
Okay,
hour
so
each.
it's not
though.
super long yet.
Yeah, they're an hour
Oh
each.
fuck! Animated?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Holy fuck, dude! That's crazy. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
they're
a
like
different.
45 minutes to an hour.
That's a different concept. Animation never does that generally. I mean, it's like movie length, close to it. Damn. Okay, I'll check it out, man. Yeah.
I haven't watched any of the anime yet because I've just been so busy. But I'm gonna try to get that the Bakano one. I'm gonna try to jump into that one. And
yeah, dude. I mean, that one's short. You can get through it in one night. you know. So.
And then I'm trying to also going to watch. I have it on my list. Is Welcome to NHK. I really want to watch that one. That one seems like really fucking good. So
that one hits so good, man. It hits the feels. That is a show legitimately that almost made me cry. And I don't say that often. So,
oh fuck, that's what I wanted you to watch too. I don't know when it's going to come to streaming services, but we saw it in theaters. I really want you to watch the Demon Slayer movie. But have you watched Demon Slayer in general?
No.
Okay. You don't really need to watch it. I feel like the movie actually does a really good job for newer viewers. But something happens on there, and I wanted to compare it to something on Naruto, and I really wanted to get your opinion on it because it reminded me of that same moment that happened. So I really wanted your opinion on that.
Is the movie somehow different from the series?
I think it's paced very well. The reason I didn't like the series, a lot of people like give me shit for it. Animation is beautiful. When they do the battles, animation is like some of the best I've ever seen. Like even better than Attack on Titan. That's how good it is.
Okay. Wow. That's high praise.
Yeah, but the pacing of the story is boring as fuck. Like on the end moments, they don't really do a good job of characterizing the characters in a fun way, or not in a fun way, but in a more engaging way. Whereas the
Mm-hmm.
movie, it made me care about these characters that I already saw in the series. I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't care about them. Like the main character, for instance, I really did not fucking care about him. But then the movie came out, and it's this one dream sequence that he had. He was still with his family and stuff like that, and it really hit me like, wow, this guy really loved his family before whatever. So it's like, um, I hope in my opinion, I know we're going over y'all, but in my opinion, the show's kind of over, so you can just end it. But in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
I hope
Hey man,
whoever
keep
is
going.
the director of the movie, I hope he comes
Mm-hmm.
back to do the seasons, like the actual shows,
Oh,
because they know how to actually pace the show or
okay.
get character design or character development in these shows, in the movie.
Yeah.
So
Well, so this is actually still in theaters. So
yeah.
I'm literally looking at showtimes right now. I don't know. I don't know if I have I don't know if I have it in me yet to go to a movie theater, but
No, just
um
wait till it comes out. I think it should be coming to
okay.
PlayStation soon, PlayStation Network soon,
Mm-hmm.
so you can just watch it on there or something like that.
Okay. Cool. Or you think it'll be on Crunchyroll?
I'm not sure if it'll be on Crunchyroll. That's a good question, but I'm not sure.
Because the original anime is, but I also heard there's like a. Is there a second season happening
Yeah, so
of this?
yeah, so the movie is a direct tie-in to second season.
Okay. Um. Okay. Do you need to watch the first season or no?
I would still watch the first season for context. It'll give you a lot more context. It's
Okay.
just, in my opinion, the seasons were that show was boring. Besides the fights, the show itself was kind of boring to me. But that's just me. I have a
Okay.
really low attention span, so yeah.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, I am still in an anime kick. I'm now a degenerate who watches My Hero Academia every Saturday because I like that show so much. It just sucks, man. I'm like sad that I got through it so fast. I'm like, God damn it. But it's really good. So I still have all those other ones you recommended me too up on my Crunchyroll.
Okay.
Like Psycho Pass and Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff. So I'm gonna check those out too. Hey, if you guys are listening and there's some animes you recommend, send them our way. Montrell and I are anime guys. I've not in like recent years. I definitely fell off
Same.
the format, but I would say in the last several months, like maybe 3 or 4 months, I've really like reestablished my love for anime in a big way, and I'm getting really into it again, and I love it, dude. I miss anime, dude. It tells stories in a way that nothing else does. It really is a unique medium, in my opinion. Like it's not like American television or even American cartoons in the way they present stories and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it just has a lot of power in that way. So
I agree. I think my issue was like, I think you're like me in the sense where like our 20s were engulfed by anime. Like that's all the fuck I
yeah,
watched was anime.
that's true. That's
Um,
true.
so
Yeah.
by the time I got like 28, 29, I stopped watching anime. And because I just start seeing a lot of the same tropes. Because when you watch two, that's with every medium, in my opinion, every part of entertainment, you always start to see the tropes and everything of that nature, and you get bored with it.
Yeah.
So that was my issue. But now that I'm like, I
Mhm.
removed myself from anime and I'm coming back, I'm like, this is why I fell in love with it. And I
Mhm.
think now anime is a lot more better than it was in the past, as far
Well,
as
the
like,
animation is incredible, dude.
yeah,
Like, oh my
exactly.
god. Yeah. And yeah, and like My Hero is funny, dude. Like, I don't think I've talked to you about this, but yeah, I caught up a couple weeks ago, and the end of season 4, the final episode. I don't know why My Hero hits me like this, but this show it was like makes me really emotional. Like I get like really into these characters' arcs. Because there's a fight that Endeavor has at the end of season 4, and dude, it like almost made me tear up. Like it's really powerful. It's like a really powerful moment, man. For the character. So, I don't know why anime does this to me. Like, because other mediums like television and movies, they have like no effect on me whatsoever. Like when somebody's going through something in shows, most of the time I don't really give a fine fuck. You know, I'm not like sitting here like almost about to cry. You know, like it just doesn't happen to me with that. With I don't know. I don't know what it is. For some reason, anime just hits me different. It like it's weird. So you know, but maybe that just means I like anime more. I don't know. So I'm happy I'm watching it again because yeah, I know what you mean. Like my early 20s were like that too. My brother actually had a shitload of anime when we were younger that he had purchased, and I watched a lot of it. And you just start watching like really, you get to the point where you're like just trying to find shows, and you just start watching shows that are like really not good, dude.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, like Elfin Lied is one I'm thinking of,
Oh,
and
you would get
which
teared apart for that. You would get teared.
you know, dude. I think it's funny because I liked the show initially when I initially watched it, but over the years, the more I've thought about it, it's just not really good. It's just I don't know, dude. You know, it's just because you know there's a lot of these animes that Fate Stay Night is another one where it's an anime where like there's like a male protagonist, and then he has this almost like harem of females that live in his house with him for some random reason. You know, there's a reason why they live with him. And Elfen Lied's one of these shows. And the show's like kind of about them like being romantic together in some way. And that's always like the tease that's happening. But then there's other stuff happening around that that's like really supposed to be the plot. And like, I don't know. Elfen Lied's one of those shows, and it just kind of I don't like I look back on it and I'm like, it's not really very good. And most of the fights kind of suck in that show. And yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I feel about
Um,
Tenchi Muyo. Tenchi Muyo was like that.
yes, Tenchi Muyo is the ultimate tease. That is a show that just disappoints, period. That's
Yeah.
it. There's nothing else to say. You know, all the versions of Tenchi Muyo also disappoint. They never go as far as they need to go. You know, it's just
They don't know what they want to be. Like they want to be a
no, they
romantic
didn't.
anime. They don't want to be a harem anime.
They
They don't
didn't.
want to be
Or
action
shonen.
or shonen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
an
like
action.
yeah,
Yeah, like yeah. They never established what the like each because there's multiple Tenchi Muyo properties, and they have some of them have vastly different stories from others. You know,
yeah.
um, and I watched most of them when I was younger, and I like the universe. I like the characters actually a lot, but they're just like it just never comes all the way together though. You know, where it becomes like something excellent. So yeah.
So I'll end it with this. How do you feel about the new Game of Thrones prequel?
Ah, man. You know, Game of Thrones is the weirdest thing, dude. It really is. Because I think as a society, you know, and I'm going here, man. I think as a society, we collectively all experienced something a couple of years ago with Game of Thrones season 8 that I think we all agree it's ruined. It's ruined. You know, like I don't know what else to say. I'm seeing all these pictures and HBO's trying to hype it and everything, and I'm like, I'm probably gonna watch it too, dude. But
I am too.
I just
Okay,
I don't
so my
care.
anger rate is justified.
Yeah.
Every time
Yeah.
I see Game of Thrones tweet, I instantly get mad. It's like an uncontrollable rage, and
Yeah.
I tweet out.
Dude, I agree with you, man. I'm totally with you. And when George is talking about his books and whatever, and he's like hemming and hawing about, oh, I'm gonna get it done this year, even though he's not, you know. We all know he's not, and he knows he's not, but he's trying to pretend that, you know, the world's gonna change somehow. Some genie's gonna come out and write his book for him. No, like you know, like Game of Thrones is just
Bro,
it came like a whirlwind and sucked us all in, you know, and then spit us all out.
I don't know
And
if there's gonna be another TV event like that.
I don't think so.
I'm really trying to think. I think the
It's
last
so unique.
yeah. I think I'm trying to think for like our parents. Maybe that was The Sopranos. Maybe
Maybe that's a good one because that ending is really divisive, but it's not as universally hated as the Game of Thrones series ending. You know,
yeah.
and dude, because you did this, I know, and I did this after Game of Thrones finished. I tried to watch the series again.
You cannot
and
watch it. You can't watch
I
it.
couldn't do it, dude. I got through 3 seasons and I dropped it. like a ton of bricks, and I was just like, this show is ruined. I don't care about any of these characters. I don't care what's happening. And then I started picking it apart too. I'm watching scenes and I'm like, this scene's kind of bad. This scene's there's not enough story here. This character wasn't on screen enough this season. And I'm like, I'm starting to see the holes, the cracks are really showing. And I'm like, oh my God, that scene is like a scene in season 8. It's kind of hacky, dude. I didn't notice it back in the day because I was so hyped for Game of Thrones. But watching it backwards, after seeing season 8, it's just like all this stuff becomes clear that these guys never knew what they were doing, and it's like, oh my God, how did, like, we all got conned for 8 years. HBO too. We all got conned by these two guys. Like, it's unbelievable. We'll never experience anything like it again either. And when I say as a society,
no, you're
that's
right.
the truth.
No, that's
collectively.
I think
we all feel the same about this.
We all do. And that's the thing that's so funny about this.
Yeah.
Everyone across the board is like, yeah, I can't defend it. Like, people who are trying to defend it, like, there's season 7 defenders, season 6 defenders, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like, season 8 is the one season that everyone unanimously agrees. Unless you're like going on a Reddit and you got these like hardcore fans and stuff like, well, actually, it wasn't that bad, guys. Like, shut up, you're Reddit. But
yeah,
like,
go do something else with your life.
Yeah, I don't know any other series, man. That even video games, right? Like, even massive. I'll compare this to like the Mass Effect endings. I think Mass Effect was on that scale, right?
Yeah,
to where
you're not wrong, but
it didn't ruin the franchise for me, though.
It didn't. You're right. It didn't. No, I can play Mass Effect 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I can even play 3. I don't hate 3. Like, it's just the ending originally wasn't satisfying.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like this. This was like, dude, it was like something unraveling in a way where it became so clear what it all was, Like, it like laid everything bare in a way that none of us were comfortable with, And it unraveled slowly over the course of about 2 months, And we got to watch these guys do these post-episode interviews where they're like, oh, Daenerys forgot the Iron Fleet existed and lost a dragon because of it. And they just popped up behind some mountains and shot her dragon and killed it. And it's like, what? And then there was the episode where you couldn't see anything and they were fighting the Night King, and Arya pops out of the middle of nowhere, literally like she's Nightcrawler, and just stabs the Night King in the chest.
So hyped for it, and
I was so upset.
I was so hyped when that happened, and then I watch it again, and I'm just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, bro. Happened? She comes out of nowhere. She just, literally, she was Nightcrawler in that moment, and then
she was OP. She was OP.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
She's one of the most powerful characters in the universe.
No joke. She could beat anybody. And then we watched an episode with her running around King's Landing while Daenerys is burning it all to the ground, and she's trying to survive, even though she's the one who can like do crazy shit and kill the Night King. She's just running around trying to not get burned to death. And then there's this really like hacky fight between the Cleganes where she shows up for a second and then doesn't fight and runs away and like doesn't do anything. And then Daenerys loses her mind, and it was just, dude, this was weeks of this. This wasn't just one episode, by the way. Like, that's the thing. The whole season.
It was weeks of it, man. Weeks.
Dude, it was weeks of it.
And it was the shortest season ever.
Together.
The shortest season.
It was 7 episodes, right? Or 6? No, it was
6. It was 6 episodes.
It was 6, that's right.
And we watched all these characters. Like,
yeah.
Like, I know that dude's probably listening. Bro, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, I implore you. You know what? I will even do a watch party with you. I will do a watch party with you. And I will watch it because it's actually fun to watch this series with someone who's never seen it before.
It's true. That is absolutely true. Dude, there's some great moments that, no, man. Watch how invested he'll get. Oh, no. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, no. Oh, don't do that to the man. Oh, no. Oh,
And I'm
Montrell.
actually gonna
Well,
get my mom into it too. I'm gonna have her watch it. If I can convince her to get past the magic stuff, because I want to see them get invested into this show. Because it can't. It's just so bad how season 8 undoes everything the previous
mhm,
seasons do. I don't
mhm.
understand as a writer how
It's
you.
unbelievable. It's an amazing achievement, dude. Because it's universal. We all agree. We all agree that it ruined it, dude. Like it ruined it. There's no other way around it, man. And yeah, because dude, I'm thinking about specific moments, right? Like in season 8, when Jamie, I don't want to keep spoiling stuff, so I'm gonna mention like Jamie has sex with a character, and it's a big moment. Like we're all excited, and then he just fucking leaves. He just fucking leaves and like goes to King's Landing to like be with his sister who he's incestuous with. Like, what the fuck? Like he was a total asshole, you know? And it's yeah, I don't know, dude. It's wild. It's wild. Almost everything that happens in that season is like an insult to anyone who's written anything, you know?
the,
It
the
is.
Targaryen reveal.
Oh my fucking god, dude. No. I know. Oh my god, that's the end of season 7, isn't it? You're talking about when John.
No, yeah. So
Okay, yeah. You're. That scene is so bad in retrospect, dude. Oh, it's so awful. I remember laughing in the moment, dude. You know, because it presents as a really powerful moment, but it's really horrifying. Actually, you know, it's super gross. Oh
actually,
god.
what I want you to do though,
Mm-hmm.
I know we're discussing this on the podcast, but I think this is very fun banter. I tried to watch it like you did recently, actually, like within the last month. I tried to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
First of all, man, what's Daenerys' fucking actress name?
Amelia Clark,
Amelia
right?
Clark. They D&D did her so grimy.
Yep.
They
And
showed
she
her,
doesn't like them.
yeah, they showed her naked every fucking chance they got, like
Yep.
every chance they got,
Dude.
and
Oh yeah. It's
I,
all over seasons 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah,
yeah,
it is.
it's actually cringy now. Like when I went back and watched it, I was like, this is fucking cringy. Like, holy, she's naked again. Like, bro, we just saw her naked like in the last episode.
It's like it sucks because like she's a beautiful woman and like it's kind of because later in later seasons she started to refuse to get naked on in scenes, and I can see why, because like it's almost like they were trying to shoot a porno with her, you know, like
Yeah,
in certain moments, because dude, they're not, it's not just she gets naked and scene goes to black, like they're showing shit, man, you
yeah,
know, like they're not showing like, you know, necessarily like the whole thing, but they're showing enough that you don't really need to let your imagination go very far,
yeah.
like you know. So
They did do a full body
yeah.
scene. There was a full body where you saw everything, like her vagina, and you saw
Yep.
everything.
Yep.
So I mean, they definitely
Yeah,
didn't leave
no,
a lot to the imagination.
it
But the
was
problem
it
was
was
with the character, like especially in season like 3, she starts to become like, you know, the Daenerys that we like, or she's starting to become like a really good character, right? Or she already was, in
mhm,
my opinion. But you start to
yeah,
see it even in season 2 and 1. But it's like,
yeah,
bro, like every scene, like almost
yeah,
every time she was
yeah,
on
yeah,
camera, bro, it was like, hey,
yeah.
get naked. Or they were like, the characters like demeaning her or something like that. Like, yeah, you're just a Targaryen, fucking, I don't know. They just call her names and shit like that. So
Targaryen bitch probably is,
yeah,
yeah,
like,
mostly what they called her.
so I can see why she was getting upset. And the actress herself was actually a very nice person. So it was like,
I know. It sucks, dude. Like they ruined it for her too, because by season 8, she was done, dude. Like all the interviews she did are like memes. They're literally memes because she was like people were asking her, like, do you remember the one with what's her name, with the woman who played Missandei, where
yeah,
somebody asked her like, oh, is this the greatest season of Game of Thrones ever? And she's like, yeah, and she just like laughs really hysterically,
best
and
season
that
ever.
and that actress next to her is like rolls her eyes and like sighs like in the interview, and I'm like, oh no, dude, like
Well,
how did we
it's
not see the signs?
like
You
when
know,
you go back and watch when they're doing like
oh,
the
the
script,
reading,
yeah, the script reading,
yeah,
they are
yep, the
so
table read,
pissed. Oh my god, they're so pissed because this is
yep,
how good the show is. Like I know a lot of people like think we're bullshitting when we think the show was like really good. The actors themselves, the actors and actresses themselves were invested in the story just as much as we were.
yep,
They were so invested in this. Like they actually like
hmm
this shit. And
and they were excellent.
oh yeah,
They were
100%.
never the problem, dude. They were never the problem. Their performances were excellent, most of them.
Yep. I agree, 100% agree. It was just the writing, man. Like this is
I mean, what are you gonna do if you have shitty writing? What can you do as an actor? You can't fix that, you know. Like, because Montrell, I'm thinking specifically of the back end of episode 5 of season 8. You remember what I'm talking about?
back end.
Where Daenerys has her little moment, you know,
Oh my god.
and you okay, Montrell, you remember she's looking at a tower, and then she doesn't speak for the entire rest of the episode, and I'm talking 30 fucking minutes. She doesn't say a word, and she starts doing some of the most absurd shit imaginable in this episode, you know, and it completely deconstructs who she is without her speaking. And it's just so bad. I'll tell you after the episode the moment I'm thinking of, you know.
Yeah, I think I know
But
what you're talking about. But yeah.
dude, it's some of the worst television I've ever seen, because I remember watching it with my wife, and this is one of the few actual dramatic shows that she would watch with me, you know.
Yeah.
And they ruin this, you know, because that moment happens, and I'm like, you know, oh my god, dude, I'm like losing my mind, but I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to ruin it for her, you know. But the thing is, it didn't matter. She was thinking the same thing I was. We just weren't saying it, you know, is that this is total shit. Like, what the fuck are they doing? You know? Oh man. So yeah. If you end up watching it with people you know, Montreal, I want to hear their reactions and how it goes with them, because it feels like a roller coaster. I think it would be the ultimate roller coaster where at the very end you careen off a cliff into the fucking ocean. Oh man,
Just like
dude, that would be
Daenerys'
so.
last dragon or dragon before last.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Kind of just forgot about.
man.
Oh my! When he said that shit, I almost threw the remote into the TV, and we just bought that TV. I was so fucking mad. Do you know how mad
Yeah.
I don't get mad at TV shows. Video games, hell yeah, all the time. Screaming at the top of my
Mm-hmm.
lungs. Get fucking pissed. TV shows, I don't fucking care about TV shows like that. But this
Yeah.
show, I was so invested. And when he said that shit, yeah, she kind of just forgot about the Iron Fleet. How do you forget about that?
Like, what kind of commander are you? You forget about a major power in your enemy's arsenal? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You forgot about the Iron Fleet. Like, what? Like, you're literally on an island. Like, your base camp is Dragonstone. You are on an island. How do you forget that your enemy's fleet exists? Like, what? Ugh. Okay, we could ramble for hours about this Montreal. So let's stop here.
All right.
You know, we've done the rigmarole. I think we did the rigmarole. Did we? No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. We
Okay.
didn't.
This is a video game show, guys. I promise you that. It is. We did talk video games for like an hour and a half, so bear with us. I if you stuck around through this whole section of the show, we love you. Okay, you are a diehard, and you're excellent. If you didn't, we don't blame you, but you don't hear this anyways. So why am I saying it? If you like the show, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please share it with your friends. If you'd like to talk to us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montrell. That's a number 4, not the word. I'm at ThunderNut01. The show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can send it to Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that is it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed our rant about Game of Thrones that kind of came out of nowhere. But it was a fun conversation nonetheless. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.